Hello, everyone. Thanks again for being here for the Esoteric Moon Gathering. I'm Dottie Lamoureaux, your host. And my hope for you is that you'll walk away from the summit having some wisdom and perhaps some rituals and practices to take with you so you can honor your inner knowing and trust and have that help you as we start to walk through this very new world that we're experiencing. Today I have Joan DeArgo, and I'm so excited to chat with her. I just know that she's going to impart so much wisdom for all of us. Her talk is entitled, "It's Time to Boldly Shine Our Radiant Lights." And she is a spiritual alchemist who helps transform highest potential into joyful reality. She's the founder of Spiritual Wildfire Academy, a global community resource created for anyone who is ready to use their own light to help ignite the worldwide spiritual wildfire we need so desperately right now.
Yeah.
She's also the creator of the international program called "It's Time to Boldly Shine Our Radiant Lights: How to Co-Create the World We Know is Possible." All of her coaching programs, including Ignite Your Inner Fire, Awaken Your Inner Healer, or Move Your Body Through Easy Qigong, help you release limiting, stagnant energy so you can discover your highest potential and live it now. As an advanced energy intuitive, she has compassionately guided people to let go of their outdated stories that hold them back so that they can step into what truly lights their soul on fire. She offers inspired guidance, healing, and empowering practical tools to help us awaken to our fullest potential and live it joyfully. As we wake up to our true potential, each one of us has a role to play in the monumental shift that is occurring on our planet right now. And when we join together, there is nothing that we are incapable of doing. Joan, thanks so much for being here. So excited.
Oh, Dottie, me too. Thank you so much for the invitation, and thank you so much for organizing this really important summit right now. So thanks for doing it. Yeah.
Well, my pleasure. I'm glad that I can talk with people like you. It's so much fun. And
yes.
Yeah, it's just fun. It lights me up.
Me too.
Awesome. Well, I'm wondering if you can describe for us what radiant light actually is.
Yeah, I'll give it my best here. So when I think of radiant light, I think of it as the essence of who and what we are. In some ways, it is the greatest superpower that we have available to us. And as being the essence of who and what we are, it means that we truly are capable of co-creating with divine source energy, the universe, God, however you describe it, truly anything. In fact, we are unlimited. And when I think of, the saying spiritual light being, it's actually true on a very basic fundamental level. So for example, scientists have now discovered that we have approximately 37 trillion cells in our body. Every single one of those cells emits 100,000 light impulses every second. So I'm trying to comprehend that 100,000 light impulses every second, right? And so it's almost as if we are these walking stars that are radiating out energy and light all around us. And it's not just our cells. So in fact, we have an energetic blueprint that is actually made of light that is the precursor to who and what we are. So you can think of it kind of like the scaffolding or the framework or the support for our physical body, and it's a precursor to our physical body. And so you can think of it also like an architect. An architect creates a blueprint for the physical house that will be constructed. Well, our energetic light body is actually that blueprint for who and what we are. And so it's, you know, the saying that we are spiritual light beings, it's not just, you know, an airy-fairy new age idea. It is actually who and what we are at the core. But the question is, well, then, you know, what does it really mean for us? What does that mean, you know, to be spiritual light beings, you know, especially in this day and age? Well, it means, number one, that we are far more than just skin and bones. We are far more than just skin and bones. And that we have this capacity when we are ready and able, which I believe that there is a majority of us that are just really aching to really tap into the light of who and what we are, because our light is actually us vibrating at a higher frequency. And so that light is truly aching to be integrated and embodied. Actually, it wants to come into our body. It wants to light up our mind. It wants to light up our consciousness. And it has all of the wisdom that we have carried with us for every lifetime that we've been in. And so it contains our genius. It contains our ability to think outside of the box and to throw out the box. It contains our ability to really create these solutions that are really needed right now. And so we've been encoded, our very DNA has been encoded with this light. And so I like to say that in this day and age, the saying, I'm only human, it doesn't work anymore. Yeah, we are human, but by the very nature of our being, we are divine. And so it's time to stop fooling ourselves into believing that we are mere mortals. We are so much more than mere mortals. And I feel there are people that are waking up on a daily basis to this incredible authentic power that we were born with. Because when we are able to really tap into that, we are able to, as I like to quote Charles Eisenstein, because he has such a beautiful way of saying it. You know, he says, you know, the more beautiful world that our hearts know is possible. So when we are able to tap into that light, which is naturally who and what we are able to realize that there is so much more out there that we are capable of doing, and that there are no limits to it. We are infinitely capable of co-creating this world that is really aching to be born right now inside each one of us and inside everyone.
I love your languaging. It's so like inspiring, and yeah, it's full of light, truly.
Wonderful. That's great. Good.
Right. Is there a place within us where our light is most at home?
Well, I think that can be unique, you know, for each one of us. But what I'm finding for myself and for the clients and the students that I work with, that not surprisingly, it's if there was a room in our body where it was most at home, it's our hearts. But that can be different for everybody. But I feel like that is where it is most at home. And in fact, I call this place, this light inside of our heart, I have a name for it. It's called Heart Light. I call it Heart Light. And that is truly the deepest well of wisdom that we have available to us. It is far more wise than any teacher, healer, or guide that we've ever encountered. So we have this sovereign light inside of us. And when we are able to tap into it, and that light is always, the heart light is always on. Now, sometimes it may not feel like that, but the heart light is always on, and it is ever ready and available for us to contact it, to ask it questions, to help guide us, right? But we just have to get quiet, and we have to get still, and we have to listen. And that is something that can be challenging for us human beings, but it's possible. And the more that we do it, the easier it is. But it's always there. It's always available. I also like the way Chinese medicine describes it too. They call it Shen, S-H-E-N. And they say that it's the spirit that lives within our hearts and it's reflected in the light of our eyes. And so while it's true that every cell is bathed in light, we have this whole energetic light blueprint, we can see it really easily through the light in our own eyes or through the light in other people's eyes. And so one of the things that I invite myself to do and others is to actually go into the mirror and to look into our eyes, into your eyes, and see that that is a divine expression of the light of who we really are. And I remember one time, Dottie, I remembered I was teaching this, I was facilitating this retreat. And I was practicing that, you know, to look in the person's eyes, the participants as they arrived. So I was just like, okay, I'm going to look into their eyes and I'm going to see them in their totality, right? See them in their divine light. And one person, after I greeted her, you know, just through, you know, looking at her that way, she's like, wow, when you look at me, you really look at me, you really see me, right? And that's really what we've been all wanting so much, is to be seen in our totality, into the fullest expression of who we really are. And so I invite people to look into our own eyes, or as we go outside, as we look at the cashier at the supermarket, to see them first and foremost as the light in their eyes. And that's not an easy thing to do. It's really not. But it's kind of a fun exercise to try too.
Yeah. Especially right now with everything we're going through as we film this, it's those people that are out there working. It's so
Right.
brave and vital, and so yeah, to honor that light.
Yeah, those people on the front lines for sure. Yeah, especially right now.
So how do we know when we're in the fullest expression of our lights?
Yeah, that's you know, that's kind of a question unique to each one of us too. So how do we know when we're when we're really shining our lights? Well, one of the questions we could ask is, well, what does it mean to really shine? And that's going to be different, you know, for each one of us. It's going to be very different. But I know that for me, when I am in my light, I'm in my joy. I'm feeling a lot of joy. I'm feeling courage. I'm feeling confidence. I am letting go of filters. I am just really expressing who I am, unfiltered, you know, in a courageous way. So for me to really be in my light, it means for me to be in the fullest expression of who I am meant to be, particularly in this lifetime. And you know, sometimes when we're around people, you know, who are in their lights, you know, it just feels so good to be around them. You know, whether you can, you know, see the light if you're clairvoyant, or whether you can just feel it, or you just know it. You know, it's just like, wow, you know, it's like I want more of what they have. And the funny thing is that we already have it. We already have, you know, what they have, right? But it just feels really good to be around them, right? And it's almost like you're basking in this, you know, energetic light that is just bathing us and feels really good. But we all have that. And it's just the ability to believe that, number one, right? Because sometimes it's really hard to even believe it, that I have this light. You know, and it almost can feel blasphemous to say, wow, I am divine. I have this divine light that is within me. I can co-create miracles. You know, in some ways, you know, it almost feels blasphemous. Who am I to even say that, right? But it is who we are. It is the essence of who we are. And we are waking up to it. And it feels good to be in our lights when we really let ourselves do that.
And what would you say to somebody that finds it challenging to let their light fully shine?
Yes, you know, that's a biggie, right? Because there's a couple of things going on there. Is that, you know, number one, you know, many of us, I would say the majority of us have been trained to actually dim our lights. You know, that it's not safe to express our lights. And part of that is due to what is called a consensus trance. And that is a consensus trance is when entire societies simmer in the same agreed upon beliefs for generations. What's cooked up and then served is a consensus trance. And that trance, many of those beliefs, maybe they worked, generations ago, or maybe at the very outset, they were beliefs that did not serve anyone. But what happens is that those beliefs kind of get baked into the cake of what our society looks and feels like. So we're not even aware of some of these beliefs, right? And so some of those beliefs can be when we are thinking like, yes, I want to really step into the fullest expression of who I am. I want to really go for it, right? Well, some of the words that we can hear are like, who do you think you are, right? Or don't reach for the stars, right? Or you need more training, or one of the beliefs is, I'm not good enough. Who am I to think that I can really, shine my light? So we've been trained to actually dim it down. And there's a really fun story that I want to share with you and the listeners. And maybe you've heard it, maybe some of you have, but it's called the story of the Golden Buddha. And this is a true story. And it goes like this. Hundreds of years ago in Thailand, there was a village where this 10-foot tall Buddha made of pure gold was housed, right? And they got word that an army from a neighboring village was getting ready to come in and invade. And so they thought, what are we going to do, to protect this 10-foot tall Buddha made out of pure gold? How can we prevent it from being plundered or destroyed or stolen? And so they came up with this brilliant idea. And the idea is that they plastered this Buddha with pure mud. And so no, right? And so the army came in and started invading, and they went past the Buddha, and all they saw was this 10-foot tall stone Buddha. And they're like, that's worthless. We'll just pass right by that, right? But what happened was the Buddha remained in that condition. This is a true story for 200 years until no one remembered that the Buddha was even gold. And what happened was one day the Buddha was getting ready to be transferred to another temple. And it just so happened that it was raining that day, and the Buddha was accidentally dropped, and it cracked. And the gold that was always there was revealed for what it truly was. And I love that story because it's kind of like a metaphor for us, right? So what happens is, is that we are in this society where, teachers, parents, churches, whatever it is, they teach us, to dim our lights, to dial it way down because it's not safe that way, right? And who are we to shine? If we shine, well, maybe we're going to dim somebody else's light, or we're going to threaten somebody like that. But what happens is something comes along and it can crack us to the core, and we crack open, and the gold that was always there is like revealed, right? And sometimes it's something that cracks us open, and sometimes, and that could be a divorce, or it could be a health issue, or it could be maybe we were fired from a job at the top of our games, but something can crack us open. Or again, maybe it's something really gradual where we're like, there must be more to life than what I'm currently experiencing, right? And so we slowly crack open, right? But once we do, it's like we experience the gold. We experience what it feels like to be in this gold, and there's no turning back, as they say. And our only job is to uncover more of the gold, to keep it polished, and to really express the light, right? And so someone who may have a hard time shining their light, the first thing to remember is that there's no use blocking it, because the light is who and what we are, right? So the first thing is to actually really believe that we are golden, that we are pure light. And then the second thing is to courageously to courageously go forward, especially toward that what we fear the most, right? Because when we can move toward what we fear the most, that's when maybe we can crack open a little more and really, really let that light shine. And the more that we do it, the easier it becomes.
I like that. I've never heard that Gold Buddha story.
Yeah, I love that story.
It
It's a
really
great
is.
metaphor.
Yeah, it
Mhm.
is. I would love to see that Buddha.
Oh, me too. Let's go to Thailand, to the Temple of the Golden Buddha, and see
Okay,
it.
I'm in.
Me too.
So I think you touched on this really beautifully, but why is it so important to boldly claim our lights and use them?
Yeah. So, well, it's always, well, number one, because we want to expand into the fullest expression of who and what we are. We want to really give ourselves that bandwidth to really be who we're meant to be in this lifetime. So that's one reason on a personal level. But on another level, collectively right now, I mean, we live in extraordinary times. They're both exceptionally promising. And as we are experiencing right now with the pandemic, they are radically uncertain. I mean, we read headlines even before the pandemic that the very nature of civilization was at stake if we don't act now. We're hearing about the sixth mass wave of extinction of plants and animals, at a rapid pace, mainly due to human behavior. We see human injustices that break our hearts. We look at what is happening even right now and we say, wow, is this the way humanity is meant to unfold? And so right now we are at a crossroads. Truly, we are at a crossroads. And we have the opportunity to choose the story of separation, the story of separation that tells us that we are separate from each other. We are separate from nature. We are even separate from the light that we were born with. Or we can choose another path that I call the story of our awakened hearts. And this is the story that knows that we are intimately connected to all beings. We are, there are golden threads of light that connect each one of us to everything and everyone. The story of our awakened hearts knows that we are unlimited, that we have contained and coded in our light all of the solutions that we need to create this world that we know it's possible in our bones. So the story of our awakened hearts, we think of it as a new story, but it's a really old, it's an ancient story. And the song of this story, it's been handed down for generations. We were born with the lyrics inside of us. And so we have this opportunity right now to choose which path we want to go on. Is it going to be the story of separation, or is it going to be the story of our awakened hearts? And along with the story of our awakened hearts is boldly claiming our light in a way that we never have before, because the world is really inviting us in a way that we never have before to claim it, so that we can truly wake up and create this world that we know in every cell, in every light biophoton is really possible.
Yeah, that's a gorgeous way of explaining that. I like that you say we're being invited like we never have before, and not only with the pandemic that we're experiencing currently, but I think with the technology and all those advances that we can spread our light wider and farther, right?
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. I mean, the time is now to courageously come forward and to let go of the consensus trance to let go of the old beliefs, to crack open the wisdom that we know is that we were born with, and to boldly go forward, to open this up in a way we have not before. I mean, we're getting a lot of messages right now. You know, we're getting, you know, most recently through the pandemic, I believe it's a wake-up call for us to ask us, what is it that we want to choose? What values are really important to us? Because there is a split in the road right now. There's a split, and we get to choose. And so, and I believe we're going to get more and more wake-up calls. And so the more of us that can come forward as the spiritual light warriors that we are, there are hundreds of thousands of us across the planet that are boldly stepping forward in ways we haven't before. I mean, if you would have asked me that I would have been doing an interview like this 5-10 years ago, I would be like, there's no freaking way. That is way too scary for me. You know, but the idea is to get out of our comfort zones, to move toward our fear, and to really use our voices, you know, in a way that we haven't before, because together there is nothing that we are incapable of doing.
So what do we do if we feel like our light has gone out?
Yeah, that's a good one. So, you know, the first thing that I want to share with people, and that is, you know, if you remember nothing else from this interview, to remember that there is nothing, absolutely nothing, that can extinguish our light. The light is always more powerful than the dark. So the first thing is to remember that even if it feels like your light has gone out, and I have been there, there was a period of 18 months where I felt like my light had gone out, right? And so the first thing to remember is to actually surrender, to surrender during this time, because maybe it's a dark night of the soul that one is experiencing, or maybe it's just a period of time in one's life where it's like, wow, where is my light? I can't access it. I have no energy. I'm feeling this sadness, this grief, this depression, you know, whatever it is, where we can feel like our light has gone out. And so, you know, there are a couple of things to remember. One is right, your light has never gone out. But also the other thing to remember is that if you need help, make sure you get help, right? So maybe from a trusted spiritual counselor, an energy worker, or like someone like you that is able to access, you know, the Akashic records, you know, to reach out, to ask for help. You know, that's what I did, you know, during that time. It's important to ask for help. And then the other thing to do is, and this is what I finally did that was really helpful for me, is to actually surrender. So when we are feeling these emotions that are uncomfortable, whether it is the grief, the sadness, the depression, to actually surrender to those emotions, to not do the spiritual bypass, to not try and maneuver our way around them, to actually open up to them, because the darkness is actually a catalyst for light. The darkness is a catalyst for light, and a descent into the darkness can actually trigger the expansion of our light in ways that we never felt possible. So those times when we feel like our light has gone out, I know how uncomfortable they are. They're extremely uncomfortable. But if we can allow ourselves to surrender, to get the help that we need, and to explore the darkness, I promise, because this is what happened to me, there will be an expansion of the light unlike we have ever seen. And I really like that poem by Rumi, The Guest House. And I don't remember all of it, but when he's talking about the emotions, you know, the envy, the malice, the darkness, the grief, he says, be grateful for whatever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond, right? And so if we can actually open up to them and receive their message, receive their gift, and surrender to it, and that we will be propelled more into the light in a way that we never had before. And, you know, these times when we experience the darkness, they can be experienced both on a personal level, but also on a collective level. And that's what we are experiencing right now. We are experiencing a global dark night of the soul. And one of the things that really helps me during this time, because I'm sensitive, just like many of the viewers out there. I mean, we are witnessing things that, you know, break our hearts, right? You know, and that is a cracking open in a way that we never felt possible, because the more we allow ourselves to actually feel, the more we have more bandwidth for even more joy and more light. But we are experiencing a dark night of the soul right now. And the one thing that really helps me is that, you know, the light is always more powerful than the dark. And so if we are descending into this darkness, and I love the way Valerie Kaur says this. She says, what if this is not the darkness of the tomb, but the darkness of the womb? She's got a really great TED Talk on YouTube that people should check out. So what if this is the darkness of the womb, where we are really going to really expand in a ways that we never felt possible? And so that's the one thing that really helps me through this. As we swing into that darkness, we're getting ready to swing in a way into the light in ways that we never felt possible. And I think this is actually historical. I think that we have never had this opportunity as human beings that we are having right now. And that's why it's really another reason to really come forward and boldly shine, courageously, to really let it shine, because there is nothing that is too small or insignificant that can make a difference right now when people shine their lights. Every tiny bit of light right now helps.
That's so encouraging. Thank you.
It helps me.
Yeah.
It really helps me during this time.
Yeah. Yeah, I can relate to the dark night on the personal level and on the collective level. And especially, I think most of April, I had a very hard time with all of the energy and having my boundaries strong. And it was also very challenging. And it's getting a little bit easier, I think, because we're accepting this as it's how, you know, it's something new. And it is an opportunity. And it's something we've never experienced in the physical bodies that we're in right now at this time.
Exactly. That is so true. Yes.
Yeah. And I really like what you said too, that darkness of the womb instead of the tomb.
Well, that was Valerie Kaur. I love that. I love that too.
Well, thank you for remembering and sharing that, because yeah, there's a birth, right? There will be a birth and joy again. And it's exciting to think about what that could be.
I know, a birth unlike we have ever seen. That is what is so amazing about being alive during this time. And I believe that, you know, all of us here, we signed up to be here. On some level, we signed up. And that means that anybody who is listening, every one of us has a gift, no matter how small or big it is, that will make a difference right now. We signed up to be here.
Yeah. Yeah, we did. And we're brave for it. So kudos to everyone.
We are brave for it. Yes, we are. Oh, yes.
What tools do you have to share with us to help us connect more with our own lights?
Yeah, so I've got a whole bunch of tools. I have a Spiritual Light Warriors toolkit that I call upon. But one of the things, if I was to offer just a couple right now, one of the things was something that we talked about earlier, and I call it see the light within and without. And that's what we talked about earlier, and that is the ability to look in the mirror and to see the light shining out, the spirit in our heart shining out from the light in our eyes, to really see that and to recognize that, wow, we are divine light beings. There is nothing we are incapable of co-creating with divine source energy. There is nothing. Wow. Just to see that, and then to see that light in others, to really see that. So the second thing, another tool out of the 11 that I have is to become a silence breaker in your own community. Okay, and that means to really use our voice, because our voice is the highest expression of our personal power. It's an expression of our light. And so to become a silence breaker in our own community, when we see something that is not right, that we know there is a higher truth here, to use our courage, to use our bravery, to take a stand and to speak up. So, and that's not an easy thing to do, like for me, right? I was one of those people that, even in a small group, I was afraid to even open my mouth because I was just afraid. What would other people think? This is too scary for me to do that. But the thing about it is that the more that we believe in our light, and the more that we really express, the more practice we have at doing that, the easier it becomes. And right now, there is so much disinformation that is going on in the world right now. And so if we were able just to drop down into our heart lights right here, and to know that this is the deepest well of wisdom that we have, and to drop down there and to access that strength and that wisdom and let it bubble up, through our chest and up into our throats, and to let that fuel, the truth that we see. The world is really asking for us to speak our truth. And I know that's not easy. I personally know that. But the more that we are able to do that, the more we can expose the light and the truth that is waiting to be exposed around us. Yeah.
I like that you said the more we do it, the easier it becomes. And you've said that a few times, and it's just such a valuable, important reminder.
Yeah.
Especially the things we're scared of. It's like, once you do it once, okay, I'm still alive, I'm still here, everything's intact, I'm still breathing, right?
Right.
Maybe I can do it again, like jumping off the diving board, right? Or getting on that bike.
Totally, right? Yeah. And often, it's like we're moving toward our fear. And I like that little acronym for fear: false evidence appearing real, right? And so the more that we move toward our fear, the more joy we have, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Like you said earlier, our bandwidth gets bigger.
Yes.
For the joy. And that's another such a valuable reminder.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. When we face the dark, the more expanded we become for the good stuff. Or I guess we shouldn't label it, but for the things that make us feel a little bit better than the other things.
Totally. That's a good way to say it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then the third tool that I really like, it's Qigong. And Qigong is a system of self-care and self-healing that combines slow, gentle movement with breath and intention. And I like to say there's no wrong way to do it. And I've been practicing and teaching Qigong now for 16 years, and it has changed my life. I feel more comfortable, more confident in my own body. And the other thing that I really like about Qigong is that it takes these ideas that can sometimes remain up here on an intellectual level and actually bring them down into our bodies. And because that's part of the transition going on right now, this collective transition, it's our ability to actually embody our light, to not just keep it up here or out here, but to actually really embody our light. And so Qigong helps us to do that. And I have 2 exercises of Qigong, Dottie, if I could share them. And they're both related to the moon, because I know this summit is really about the moon. So shall I share those with you?
Yes, please. Yes.
Okay, great. So here's the thing. These can be done either sitting or standing. And I want you to know that there is no wrong way to do them. If you have never practiced Qigong, they're really, really easy to do, okay? And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stand up and just adjust this a little bit. And so this first one is called Moon Over the Lake, okay? And so what I invite you to imagine is the biggest super full moon that you can imagine. And remember, the super moons are when the moon is closest to the earth. So they're really, really big, okay? So I want you to imagine a super full moon and see it in all its silvery moonlight, or it's a gold hue, or whatever it is, okay? And think of what the moon means for you. So for the moon, for me, is really moving into my divine feminine. It's being in the flow. It's really trusting my intuition. You know, it's all that. So whatever the moon means for you. And so it's really simple to do this. What you're gonna do is you're just gonna bring your hands out, your arms out in front of you, and take some nice breaths. It's really simple. We're just going to begin to shift back and forth. Inhaling and exhaling. And imagine, sense, feel that your hands, your fingers are gliding over this lake with this incredible moonlight shimmering over it. And as your hands move back and forth, the light ripples out across the lake. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take a nice inhale. We're going to raise our arms up. So it's a nice inhale coming up and around as if we are tracing the moon. So it's an inhale and up and around. And tapping into that moonlight and bringing that moonlight down into our bodies. All that wisdom, that ability to be in the flow. Good, we'll do that one more time, up and around. And then we're just gonna shift back and forth again. Feeling that moonlight rippling under our fingers on the lake. Take your time, we're gonna shift the other way, over to the other side, up and around, and let that moonlight just shower down around through you, around you, and let it surround you, let it envelop you. Inhaling and exhaling. Good, we'll do that one more time. Beautiful, nice. Good. Great, all right, there's one more. And it's called, this has a funny name, it's called Eating the Moon Cream. And so I'm like, what is the moon cream? Okay, well, I think of it as like the very essence. Okay, think of a chocolatey eclair, right? Right in the very center is that really gooey, yummy, really good stuff, right? So this is the essence, you know, of the moon. Okay, so it's the essence of what it means to really be in your divine feminine, to just the quintessence of what it is, all right? And so what we're going to do is we're going to eat the moon cream. And this is a fun one to do when there's a full moon outside. Both of these are. So it's really simple. You're just going to have your hands like this, right in front of your solar plexus, knowing that this is your sun, your internal sun right here. It's your solar plexus, right? Good. And so we're just going to open our arms up and around, tapping into that moon cream. And we're going to bring it in right here, and we're going to condense it right inside. So the moon is meeting with the sun inside of us. And when the moon meets with the sun, what is it? It's a new moon. So think of maybe something that you want to bring into your life around a new moon. Maybe it's a new project, a new way of believing or thinking or whatever it is. So think of what that is, and open your arms. Tap into that moon cream and let that moon meet with the sun inside of you and condense it, bring it in. Take a nice inhale and open up around and condensing that energy and feel that in. Good, opening up. Silvery golden moonlight flowing into your hands, right into your solar plexus where the new moon originates. New beginnings. We'll do that once more on each side. Inhale, opening up. Condense it in, feel it. Inhale, opening the other way. Good. There's no wrong way to do it. There's no wrong way. Great job. Beautiful.
I love it. You know why these are perfect too is because this airs right before the full moon eclipse on July 4th, 5th.
Oh, beautiful. I didn't know that, a full moon eclipse.
Yes.
Wonderful. Well, that's going to be a really potent time. So these will be really fun to do even outside if possible, or inside, you know, whatever. Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
Yes.
Oh, so much fun, Joan.
I know.
Talk to you forever. Do you want to share any information about your free gift?
Yeah, sure. So I have it's a 45-minute experiential video, and I call it 3 Essential Self-Care Tools for the 21st Century Spiritual Warrior. And they are, the 3 tools are be still and listen, move your body, which is a little bit of Qigong, and choose joy. And this is a really fun experiential video. And if there was ever a time that was calling out for us to hone our spiritual resilience or sharpen our spiritual tools, it's now. These are stormy times that we live in. And the one thing that really helps keep me grounded and centered and able to shine my light in a way that it doesn't burn out is through my spiritual toolkit. And maybe there's other tools in other people's toolkits, but these are 3 of the tools that I use. So I invite you to go to that, download it, have fun with it. So one is the Be Still and Listen, going into our heart lights. The other is a little bit of Qigong, and then choose joy, because there's times when life can feel really overwhelming. So I feel for me that choosing joy is an act of spiritual resilience in some ways. So it's like feel it all, right? But also choose the joy, because it really helps to build me up too.
Thank you, Joan.
Oh, Dottie, this was so much fun.
It really was. And so inspirational. You're just such a warm, loving light.
Thank you. Thank you. You too. And you make it really easy. You have this really beautiful grounding presence that makes it really easy to speak. So thank you for that.
Thanks, Joan.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well, amazing. Thank you for your time and your free gift. And I know people learned a lot, as much as I did. I took 2 pages of notes, everything you said. So thank you.
Yeah.
And thanks everybody for tuning in, and be sure to find Joan. Her website will be listed on her speaker page, and connect with her as soon as you can. Thank you, everybody.
Many thanks, Dottie. Thank you so much for doing this, and all love and light to all the listeners. So thanks again.
Thank you, everybody. We'll see you soon.